You want the truth. Here it is. You ain't on the world watching Netflix all day. You're not going to elevate sleeping and skipping the grind, dodging the pain. Growth doesn't come wrapped in comfort. It comes with scar. The real you, the future you, the legendary you is trapped behind your suffering. And until you learn how to suffer well, you'll keep repeating the same year, calling it life. See, you out here praying for elevation, but you rebuke the very process that brings it. You want strength, but you avoid the struggle. You ask God for wisdom, but you curse every storm. That's not how this works. You want to soar like an eagle, but you're scared of the wind. You want to shine like gold, but you refuse the fire. Listen to me. There is no growth without suffering. None. The enemy isn't your pain. It's your attachment to ease. It's your addiction to what's familiar. Emotional and spiritual detachment is the game changer. You don't grow when you're tied to the old version of you. You grow when you can look back at who you used to be and say, thank you for the lessons. But I ain't staying with you. That's power. You want to be unstoppable. Let go of everything that keeps you average. That need for people to understand you. Let it go. That fear of failure. Let it go. That craving for applause. Let it go. The more detached you become from external validation, the closer you get to your divine purpose. See, some of you still care too much. You care about their opinions, their acceptance, their approval. And every time you give them that power, you shrink. Every time you bend just to be liked, you lose height in the spirit. You were made to stand tall, not to fit in. And I'm telling you right now, real confidence is spiritual detachment. When you can walk away without bitterness, when you can suffer without complaining, when you can lose and still bless the name of the Lord, that's strength. I know it hurts. I know you're tired. I know you feel like you're being crushed. But hear me, diamonds are only made through pressure. Trees only grow deep roots when they face strong winds. And the soul only matures when it goes through spiritual fire. Stop resisting what's refining you. That pain you feel, it's not your enemy. That's God shaping your capacity. You're asking for next level, but you're still emotionally fragile. Every no breaks you. Every delay confuses you. Every rejection shakes you. How can you handle destiny when you can't even handle discomfort? No, you gotta suffer. You gotta walk through seasons where nobody claps, nobody calls, nobody understands, but you still show up. That's how you grow. And let me say this, your detachment is not coldness, it's clarity. You stop being tossed around when you know who you are. You stop chasing people when you understand purpose. The more you grow spiritually, the less emotionally reactive you become. You start living from vision, not from vibes, from truth, not from feelings, from destiny, not from drama. I'm telling you, don't waste your pain. Let it break you open so the real you can rise. You ain't soft. You ain't broken. You're becoming. Every tear is watering your future. Every loss is birthing new strength. Every betrayal is carving out a deeper version of you. It's not killing you. It's cleaning you. So embrace the suffering, welcome it, let it teach you, stretch you, humble you, transform you. Because when it's done, you won't just grow. You'll glow. You'll walk different. You'll talk different. You'll move in silence, but carry thunder. You'll detach from the noise because you're locked into purpose to grow. You had to suffer. But if you suffer well, you'll never be the same again. Suffering is not punishment. It's preparation. That's the truth most people miss. When life starts breaking down, when everything starts shaking, when the pressure hits, people start thinking they're cursed, like they did something wrong. But suffering isn't a sign you failed. It's a signal that you're being formed. See, there's a version of you that can't go into the next season. There's a level of character, strength, and focus you need that you don't yet have. So life, God, the process, it starts carving, chiseling, refining. It begins the work of stripping away the excess, the immaturity, the laziness, the pride. And yes, it hurts, but that pain is producing something powerful. Preparation never feels good while you're in it. Ask any athlete, any warrior, any great leader. The training ground doesn't feel like victory. It feels like isolation. It feels like long days with no applause. It feels like losing while others are winning. It feels like you're behind. like you missed your shot, like maybe you were wrong about your dream. But what's really happening, you're being developed in the dark. The world can't see it yet, but something is being built in you that can't be undone by applause or taken away by failure. You're becoming solid. Most people skip preparation because they don't understand suffering. They avoid anything that stretches them. They pray to be used, but refuse to be refined. They want the platform, but reject the pain. And because they skip the process, they show up to destiny unprepared. And when pressure comes at the next level, they collapse because they never learn how to endure. But when you embrace suffering as preparation, you start looking at hard times differently. You stop asking, why me? And start asking, what's this building in me? You start searching for the lesson, for the muscle, for the wisdom hidden inside the hardship. Preparation through suffering is never wasted. It shows up in ways you don't expect. That season when you had to work 3 jobs just to survive, it taught you stamina. That heartbreak that left you shattered, it taught you boundaries and self-worth. That failure that embarrassed you, it taught you humility and patience. It's all preparation. And the more pain you walk through with the right mindset, the more capacity you develop. That's why some people can carry nations on their shoulders while others crumble under criticism. One was prepared. One just wanted the stage. Don't reject the thing that's making you stronger. Don't despise the very furnace that's burning off what can't go with you. Growth without pain is fantasy. You can't carry the weight of purpose with soft hands. Suffering teaches you to stand when everything says fall. It makes you unshakable, not because you don't feel, but because you've been here before and you know this is not the end. It's the becoming. It's the making. It's the making. It's the sharpening of the sword before battle. You're not being punished. You're being prepared to handle the weight of the life you were born to lead. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you trust the process more than your feelings. It's not about becoming cold or distant. It's about mastering your emotions so they no longer master you. Too many people let their emotions drive their decisions. They let fear stop them from starting. They let discouragement make them quit. They let rejection write the narrative of their worth. But emotional detachment means you rise above that. It means you acknowledge the emotion, but you don't bow to it. You feel it, but you don't follow it. That's maturity. That's power. People think strength is never feeling anything, but real strength is feeling it all and still moving forward. Detachment isn't about pretending. It's about positioning. It's standing in the storm and not being moved. It's losing what you thought you needed and still waking up the next day with faith. It's trusting that every delay, every closed door, every painful turn is still working for your good, even when your heart doesn't understand it yet. When you're emotionally attached to outcomes, to people, to comfort, you're easily broken. But when you're rooted in something deeper than feeling, you become unstoppable. When you detach, you stop begging for peace from external things. You stop depending on people's approval to feel valid. You stop chasing outcomes to feel valuable. You stop needing everything to go right to believe you're on the right path. Detachment teaches you to anchor yourself to principles, not pressure, to purpose, not praise, to discipline, not dopamine. That's when you begin to live from your spirit instead of your senses. Feelings are temporary. They shift like the wind. One moment you're excited, the next you're anxious. One day you're confident, the next you're doubting everything. If you let that decide your actions, you'll never build anything that lasts. Emotional detachment teaches you to act from vision, not vibes. To keep going even when motivation fades. To stay the course even when nothing makes sense. It's saying, I don't feel like it, but I'm committed. I'm tired, but I'm showing up. I'm afraid, but I'm not backing down. You got to be able to walk away from what disturbs your peace and disrupts your growth. Even if it once meant everything to you, that relationship, that comfort zone, that identity you outgrew. Emotional detachment means you let go, not because you don't love, but because you do love yourself, your purpose, your destiny. It's spiritual clarity. It's trusting that the one who called you knows what he's doing, even if it hurts. So stop thinking detachment is weakness. It's actually divine wisdom. It's the ability to stand still while the world pulls at you, to stay grounded when life throws chaos your way. You're not numb. You're focused. You're not cold. You're consecrated. And the more you detach from what drains you, the more room you make for what builds you. That's not disconnection. That's spiritual alignment. That's what true growth requires. Growth requires pruning. That's a hard truth, but a necessary one. You can't take everything and everyone with you into your next season. You can't hold on to old habits, expired relationships, outdated beliefs, and still expect to grow. Real elevation requires separation. Just like a tree doesn't grow stronger until it's been pruned. You won't step into your fullest potential until something gets cut off. And not because it was all bad, but because it's no longer needed. It served a purpose, but that purpose is over. And if you try to keep it, it will weigh you down. It will stop you from producing the fruit you were created to bear. Pruning doesn't always feel good. In fact, it often feels like loss. It feels like rejection. It feels like things are falling apart. But what you think is being taken away is actually being cleared out to make space for something greater. That friendship that faded, that opportunity that slipped through your fingers, that version of you that no longer fits who you're becoming. It's pruning. It's precision. It's the hand of God shaping your life, even if you don't understand it yet. There's no such thing as painless growth. People want to level up without letting go. They want to rise without releasing. But growth doesn't work that way. You don't just add new things. You remove what no longer serves your purpose. You don't just build, you refine. You don't just climb, you cut. Every elevation demands that you lighten your load. Some things are too heavy for your destiny. Some people can't breathe at your next altitude. Some habits will sabotage the breakthrough you've been praying for. So the pruning isn't punishment. It's protection. It's preparation. The mistake we make is we try to reattach what God already cut. We keep going back to what he's calling us to release. We hold on to comfort, to the familiar, to what we've outgrown because we're afraid of the unknown. But you can't receive the new if your hands are full of the old. You can't move forward while staying attached to what's behind you. Pruning forces you to choose progress or nostalgia, destiny or comfort, purpose or approval. You got to trust the pruning. You got to trust that when something is removed, it's not the end, it's the beginning. Something greater is being developed in you. Your roots are going deeper. Your fruit is about to multiply, but not before you're trimmed, not before you're tested, not before you're purified. And that's what growth is. It's not always about gaining. Sometimes it's about losing. Sometimes it's about surrendering. Sometimes it's about letting go of what looks right in your eyes to make room for what's divine in your life. So when the cutting comes, don't panic. Don't resist it. Lean into it. Understand that if it's being removed, it's because you've outgrown it. Growth requires pruning. And pruning is a sign that you're on the edge of something powerful. Let it go. Let it fall. And watch what begins to rise in its place. You cannot become who you were born to be while staying emotionally married to who you used to be. That version of you, the one shaped by fear, insecurity, approval, addiction, and past trauma, was necessary for a season, but it's not equipped for the life you're being called to live. And the longer you hold on to that identity, the more you delay your breakthrough. Growth isn't just about adding new habits or setting bigger goals. It's about divorcing the mindset that keeps you tied to survival when you were born to thrive. Too many people are trying to walk into a new season wearing the garments of their old self. They talk about change, dream about success, pray for purpose. But deep inside, they're still loyal to the same pain that once protected them. They still believe they're not enough. They still define themselves by old wounds and past failures. And as long as that emotional attachment exists, transformation can't take root. You got to be willing to leave that version of yourself behind. Not with hate, but with honor. That version got you here, but it can't take you there. There comes a time when you have to stop defending who you used to be and start building who you're becoming. That means letting go of the stories that no longer serve you. Letting go of the victim narrative that once gave you sympathy, but now blocks your strength. Letting go of the excuses that once gave you comfort, but now keep you stuck. If you want to rise, you got to shed that skin. You've got to stop being emotionally loyal to your limitations. Detachment from your former self is not rejection. It's evolution. It's understanding that growth requires change, and change requires discomfort. You cannot grow while staying attached to old labels, old environments, and old expectations. The people around you may still see the old you. They may still talk to the insecure version. They may still treat you like the person you were before healing began. But you gotta walk like the new you, even when nobody else sees it yet. That's what faith looks like. That's what forward looks like. It's not easy to let go. That old self knows your habits, your fears, your comfort zones. It whispers in moments of doubt, telling you to shrink, to hide, to go back. But you have to silence that voice. You have to outgrow it. You have to rise above it with clarity, conviction, and purpose. Because if you don't, you'll keep repeating patterns that no longer align with your calling. This is your becoming season. But you can't become without detaching. You can't evolve without grieving the version of you that can't come. You can't birth a new identity while still clinging to an expired one. So honor who you were, but don't marry it. You're not bound to that story anymore. Step out of the emotional grave of your former self and walk into the freedom of who you were always meant to be. Pain is the evidence of progress. When something hurts, when life stretches you to your edge, when the pressure rises and your comfort zone collapses, that's not a sign to retreat. It's a sign that something real is happening. Growth is not invisible. You feel it. You carry it. You bleed through it. Every time you level up, something in you has to break, shift, or die. So when you feel the pain, don't panic. Pay attention. That discomfort is proof that you're no longer where you used to be. People want progress without pain. But that's not how this works. You don't build muscle without tearing the fibers. You don't strengthen your spirit without challenging your limits. You don't develop grit, discipline, patience, or purpose without walking through moments that make you want to quit. The reason so many people stay stuck is because they interpret pain as a sign to stop instead of a signal to keep going. But champions, leaders, purpose-driven people, they understand that pain is a teacher. It's not pleasant, but it's powerful. It doesn't feel good, but it forces you to grow. Every time you stretch beyond what's comfortable, your internal capacity expands. That anxiety before stepping on a stage, it means you're stepping into something greater. That fear when you launch the business, end the relationship, or set the boundary, it means you're walking into unfamiliar territory. And unfamiliar is where growth lives. If you don't feel pain, it's likely you're repeating a cycle. You're coasting. You're staying safe. You're not challenging the parts of you that need to evolve. Pain also exposes your patterns. It reveals what still owns you, what still triggers you, what you haven't healed from. It uncovers the weak spots in your mindset, your habits, and your belief system. That's why it's so important to lean into it, not to suffer for suffering's sake, but to learn from it. Every time you face the pain and stay in the process, you gain something: wisdom, endurance, clarity, focus, spiritual strengths. Pain never leaves you empty-handed when you endure it with purpose. And the beauty of it is this: what once broke you will become your breakthrough. The tears you cried in silence will build resilience. The nights you wanted to give up will birth grit. The setbacks will sharpen your vision. What was meant to crush you will carve out a deeper version of you. So stop seeing pain as your enemy. Start seeing it as a passage. It's not there to defeat you. It's there to develop you. You have to rewire your mind to embrace what the world avoids. You've got to stop chasing ease and start chasing elevation. You've got to understand that if you're in pain, it means you're not in the same place anymore. And that means progress. So don't curse the hurt. Don't numb it. Don't run from it. Walk through it with your head high. Let it shape you. Let it purify you, because the pain is not in vain. It's producing something in you that ease never could. Spiritual detachment is power, not loud power, not visible power, but quiet, immovable, unshakable power. The kind of power that doesn't panic when things fall apart. The kind of power that can lose something and still walk with peace. The kind of power that doesn't need to control everything because it's grounded in something greater. See, when you're spiritually detached, you're no longer ruled by outcomes. You're no longer enslaved to whether things go your way. You stop trying to force, fix, or fight what isn't yours to carry. That's real strength. We've been taught that control equals power. That if we just manage everything right, hold on tight and stay attached to people, plans, and results, we'll feel secure. But that's not power. That's fear wearing a mask. Real power comes when you let go, when you trust that what's meant for you can't miss you, and what leaves you wasn't meant to stay. That level of detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You stop chasing things that drain you. You stop begging doors to open. You stop trying to hold broken pieces together just to feel whole. Spiritual detachment says, I'm not tied to this moment. I'm tied to my mission. It says, even if it all burns down, I'll rise from the ashes. That doesn't come from hype, from emotion, from motivation. It comes from alignment. It comes from a place inside you that's been stripped of ego, of pride, of the need to control outcomes. When you're spiritually detached, you're no longer a slave to external validation. You're not swayed by applause or discouraged by silence. You move based on conviction, not condition. The storms of life don't stop hitting just because you're on the right path. But when you're detached from needing the storm to stop, you discover peace in the middle of it. You stop reacting to everything. You start responding with wisdom. You're no longer driven by urgency. You're grounded in clarity. And people will look at you and wonder how you're so calm when everything is shaking. And the answer is simple. You're no longer attached to things that can be taken from you. That's spiritual security. That's divine strength. This detachment gives you freedom. Freedom to love without possessing, to give without expecting, to work without worrying, to dream without doubting. You understand that outcomes are not your responsibility. Obedience is you stop gripping things so tight that your knuckles bleed. You start walking in trust and grace and stillness. You stop worshiping the plan and start trusting the process. This world will test your grip. It will tempt you to attach your worth to what you achieve, to who stays, to what you earn. But when you live detached, you live above the noise. You live untouchable, not because you don't feel, but because you've trained your soul to anchor itself in something eternal. And that's the kind of power no one can take from you. The power that comes not from holding on, but from knowing when to let go and still stand tall. Temporary suffering exposes permanent weaknesses. That's why it's so necessary. It shows you what's been hiding under the surface. You think you're solid. You think you're ready. You think you're built for the next level, but then the pressure comes. The delay hits. The betrayal shows up. The opportunity slips through your fingers. Suddenly the parts of you that haven't been dealt with, haven't been healed, haven't been strengthened, they rise to the surface. That pain you feel, that emotional spiral you go through, that inner chaos that gets triggered, that's not just the suffering, that's the weakness being revealed. You can't fix what you refuse to face. And suffering brings it all to the light. You don't know how fragile your faith is until things go silent. You don't know how much you depend on people until they walk away. You don't know how deeply your identity is rooted in performance until failure knocks you off your game. Suffering shakes the mask off. It pulls the curtain back. It shows you the cracks in your foundation so you can strengthen what's been weak before it breaks when the stakes are higher. We live in a world that celebrates image, that's obsessed with presentation. But suffering doesn't care about how you look. It targets the inside. It presses on the insecurities. It tests the roots. It doesn't ask for permission. And that's why it's such a gift, even though it never feels like one. It gives you a mirror. It says, this is where you need to grow. This is what you've been ignoring. This is the version of you that can't survive the next level. And if you're wise, you won't run from that mirror. You'll study it. You'll let it lead you to the areas you need to fortify. Some people avoid this process. They medicate it, distract themselves, blame others, or just stay stuck in cycles. But those who embrace it, those who lean into the discomfort, who ask the hard questions, who allow the pain to teach them, those are the ones who rise. Because what once exposed them ends up empowering them. They repair what was weak. They build in silence. They strengthen the places where they used to break. And when the next storm comes, they're different. They don't fold. They don't flee. They don't fall apart because they allow the temporary suffering to prepare them for permanent stability. You got to stop cursing the process that's trying to upgrade your soul. That fire you're in. It's not burning you to ashes. It's burning off the weakness. That confusion you feel, it's not failure. It's an invitation to rebuild stronger, clearer, deeper. The suffering you're facing today is not just about surviving. It's about exposing and eliminating what cannot go with you into your future. So next time the pain shows up, instead of asking, why me, start asking, what is this revealing in me? Because if you let it, temporary suffering will lead you straight to the places you need to grow. So the next time life hits, you won't just endure it. You'll conquer it. The blessing is often buried in the burden. That's why so many people miss it. They see the weight, they feel the pressure, they experience the exhaustion, and they assume they're under attack. But what they don't realize is that the very thing they're trying to get rid of, the burden they're begging God to take away, is carrying the breakthrough they've been praying for. See, life doesn't always hand you blessings in shiny packages. Sometimes it shows up wrapped in hardship, disguised as rejection, wearing the face of delay or failure. And if you don't have the spiritual eyes to see it, you'll walk away from the very thing that was sent to develop you. People run from the burden because they don't recognize the blessing it carries. They want favor, but without the fight. They want increase without pressure. They want elevation without endurance. But the truth is, every great calling comes with great weight. And that weight, that burden is not punishment, it's positioning. It's preparing your shoulders to carry more. It's building the spiritual stamina you'll need to sustain what's coming. The burden is the blessing in seed form. You have to carry it, protect it, struggle with it, and labor through it until it matures into the very thing you've been dreaming about. You got to stop asking for lighter burdens and start praying for a stronger back. Stop begging for the load to be taken away and ask for the character to carry it. Because what you're calling a burden might be the exact tool God is using to build you into the person who can handle the next level. Some of your greatest wisdom will come from your deepest pain. Some of your most powerful gifts will be unlocked in your most painful seasons. Some of your most impactful purpose will be born out of the burdens you thought were breaking you. We often think blessings are supposed to feel good, look easy, and come without resistance. But sometimes the blessing is hidden in the burden, because that's where transformation happens. You don't find purpose in the shallow waters. You find it in the deep, in the crushing, in the stretching. That's where your faith gets real. That's where your identity gets clear. That's where you stop depending on what's external and start discovering what's been planted in you all along. The burden you carry is shaping your capacity. It's increasing your endurance. It's showing you who you really are. And once you carried that burden, once you pushed through it, prayed through it, bled through it, you won't just receive the blessing, you'll know how to sustain it. You won't be fragile. You won't be fake. You'll be forged. So don't despise the burden. Embrace it. Carry it with faith, because hidden inside that weight is wisdom, is strength, is favor, is power. The burden is heavy, but the blessing it's building is greater. You only develop discipline in discomfort. That's the reality nobody wants to face. Discipline doesn't grow in ease, it grows in resistance. It grows in those moments when you don't feel like showing up, but you show up anyway. It grows when everything in your flesh wants to quit, but your spirit says keep going. You don't become disciplined when things are smooth. You become disciplined when life is hard, and you refuse to let the hardship define your behavior. You train your mind, your body, your soul to move based on your mission, not on your mood. Comfort never produces warriors. It never produces leaders. It never produces champions. What builds those kind of people is pressure. It's waking up when it's still dark outside. It's putting in the work when no one's watching. It's doing what's right when it's not convenient. Discomfort is the gym where discipline is built. And every time you choose to stay consistent in the middle of that discomfort, you build a new level of mental and spiritual muscle. Discipline is doing what's required even when the feeling is gone. Anybody can be consistent when they're inspired. Anybody can grind when the fire's fresh and the dream is exciting. But the people who go the distance, the ones who finish what they start, they've mastered how to act without needing emotion to fuel them. They've learned how to live by decision, not desire. And that's only forged in the furnace of discomfort. Look back at any area of your life where you've grown. It didn't come through ease. It came through pressure. That season where you had no money, no help, and no energy, but you kept building, that's where your discipline was forged. That time when your heart was broken, your soul was tired, and your vision felt cloudy, but you kept walking anyway. That's when your discipline deepened. You don't learn commitment in convenience. You learn it when nothing around you supports the grind and you do it anyway. Discomfort reveals your level of self-control. It shows whether you're in charge or your feelings are. It shows whether you truly believe in your vision or you're just chasing a high. Real discipline is spiritual. It's sacred. It's when you're so aligned with your calling that no amount of pain, distraction, or disappointment can knock you off course. You wake up early, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. You put in the reps, not because you enjoy it, but because you've made a covenant with your purpose. You cannot skip discomfort and expect to be great. You cannot bypass pain and expect to be powerful. Every sacrifice you make in the dark, every hour of effort nobody sees, every time you deny the urge to quit, you're investing in a version of you that's unstoppable. So lean into the discomfort. Don't run from it. Let it train you. Let it shape you. Because the ones who master discipline and discomfort are the ones who finish the race with power, not just passion. Real growth requires spiritual clarity. And spiritual clarity doesn't come when everything's going right. It often comes through the chaos of pain. When life starts falling apart, when you feel lost, confused, and crushed by the weight of what you're going through, that's when your vision starts to sharpen. Not because everything makes sense, but because everything unnecessary gets stripped away. You begin to see what really matters. You begin to see who you really are. You begin to see what you were really called to do. That's the power of pain. It doesn't just hurt, it reveals. Spiritual clarity isn't about knowing every step. It's about knowing who you're walking with and why you're walking at all. It's that still voice in the middle of the storm reminding you this is bigger than your feelings. This is deeper than your fear. This is purpose, not punishment. See, when you go through fire, the smoke clears everything you didn't need. The distractions lose their appeal. The fake fades. The superficial dies. You stop chasing applause and start chasing alignment. You stop trying to please everybody and start seeking the presence of the one who sent you. Clarity doesn't come from comfort. It comes from surrender. It comes from letting go of your ego, your plan, your timeline. It's in the place where you stop asking for the storm to stop and start asking for wisdom in the storm. That's where real clarity is born. That's when you start walking by faith, not sight. Not because it's easy, but because you've seen too much to go back. You've been through too much not to trust. Your spiritual eyes open in pain because pain forces you to go deeper than logic. It forces you to rely on something greater than intellect. It calls you into your spirit where truth lives. Growth without spiritual clarity is dangerous. You can build, grind, climb, and still end up in a place you were never meant to be. But when you grow with clarity, every step has weight. Every move has meaning. Every decision flows from purpose, not pressure. You stop moving to impress and start moving with intention. And that kind of movement doesn't just make noise, it makes impact. It multiplies. It leaves a legacy. But you only get that clarity when you allow pain to work in you. When you stop numbing it and start listening to it, when you stop escaping and start reflecting, the darkness becomes your teacher. The suffering becomes your sanctuary. Not because you enjoy it, but because you've learned to extract purpose from it. You've learned to say, if I'm going through it, then I'm going to grow through it. This is why the people who've been through the most are often the clearest, calmest, and most focused. They've walked through fire and now they carry light. They've been broken, but now they're whole. And it wasn't because everything made sense. It was because the pain forced them to see with spiritual eyes. Real growth demands that kind of vision. And that kind of vision is born in the places you once wanted to escape. So here it is, clear and undeniable. If you truly want to grow, you're going to have to suffer. Not because life is unfair, not because you're being punished, but because pain is the passport to power, because pressure is the price you pay for purpose, and because the version of you that's called to walk in destiny cannot be birthed in comfort. Stop running from the breakthrough. Stop resisting the fire. Let it refine you. Let it stretch you. Let it strip away everything false, everything fragile, everything that no longer belongs. Because on the other side of suffering is strength. On the other side of the chaos is clarity. On the other side of letting go is the real you, the bold you, the focused you, the unstoppable you. And when you come out of this, you won't just be healed. You'll be whole. You won't just be stronger. You'll be sharper. You won't just survive. You lead because you did it forward. You did it quick. You embrace the suffering and you let it transform you from the inside out. So don't just pray for growth. Prepare for it. And when the suffering comes, don't retreat. Rise. Rise with fire in your bones and purpose in your steps. Because the suffering didn't come to destroy you. It came to unlock you. And the world is waiting for the version of you that only the fire can reveal. To grow, you have to suffer. And if you can endure it, if you can trust it, if you can rise through it, you'll never be the same again. Tools.